the reason a lot of people don't create things is because they're expecting perfection. Like I've made so many mistakes and so many things. I'm still making mistakes, and I think that's the process of perfection. Is that you have to be willing to make the mistakes and know where the mistakes were made, and to be able to grow and to do something out of that. And if you don't make mistakes, you can't expect things to actually flourish or grow because you're trying to be perfect from the beginning. You have to start. You have to take a step. You have to do something for that thing to be a thing. There is no such thing as perfection. And if you keep waiting for perfection, you'll never start, you'll never achieve it. So I've done a bunch of things recently where I don't think I've been absolutely prepared or perfected or just made whole. And I just, I've really been living out this model of just starting, of just doing it, of just trying, because I think a lot of us get so wrapped up in the desire stages that we don't live the practical stages. We don't do the things that we want to do. We don't do the things that we desire to do because it's just so easy to just sit there and not do anything. It's actually putting the blame. It's actually a self debilitating reality. You're telling yourself, okay, when this is ready, when I feel perfect, when I feel good, when I feel this, when I feel that, that's when you'll start. And truth is that you're never gonna be ready. Like even when you think that you have become the best at your craft, you're still gonna need something else. You're still gonna feel like, okay, now I'm the best at this, but there's another level here and another step here, and I haven't taken that step. And this is, so many people stop themselves from doing anything because they're so afraid that they're not gonna be perfect. I'm okay with being flawed. I made a couple mistakes. I wrote a book and I made a bunch of mistakes in that book, and I'm sitting there and I was kicking myself about it. I'm like, oh, that's so stupid. It was so small. Things that I mind you, I spent hours and hours and hours and hours just reviewing and reading and seeing, and then I'm like, oh, okay, after the fact, I'm like, okay, I left these things out, or messed up here, or made this mistake here. And the first instinct in me was to like be upset about it, to like kick myself and say, oh, so dumb, I could have did that thing. But the reality is that I did something that took hours of work and hours of just thought and process and made it into something. And I think we failed to give ourselves grace in places that we were failing in. We failed to say, okay, well, I messed up here, but I did this. I made an effort. I tried. So what's the next thing going to look like? The next thing is going to look so much better, because the reality is that you were able to put a blueprint to the things you did before. If you're not willing to start, you can't complain. You can't sit here and just pass judgment on yourself, because again, we are our own biggest critics. We are our own biggest haters in this world. You are the person that's going to talk the most nonsense to yourself, and you're going to believe it because you said it. This is the truth, that if you are thinking that you need to be this over the top perfectionist and all these aspects, you're never going to start. You're never going to do the thing. And that is one of those like rules that applies across all platforms, across all people, across all things. The reality is that you have to do the thing that you are uncomfortable doing. You have to do the thing that you're afraid to do. You have to do the thing that you think you're not ready for. And again, I understand there are some disclaimer. I understand that there's some things that are like financially necessary, or like personal life steps that you have to take. But the reality is that even then we make excuses. We say, oh, I don't have this, so I'm not going to start anything. And you will never have that because you never started anything. You have made that the antithesis of why you are not successful. And you will continue to live in that hole, because that's the reality. Until we decide that we're going to do the thing even when I'm not ready, and I'm going to prepare myself in it, because that's actually the trick. That's actually the reality, that the preparation happens through the effort. You become perfected in your preparation. You not become perfected in your sitting in stagnation. You become perfected by doing the thing that you're afraid to step. That's where the perfection happens, because now you have learned what it's like. It's like riding a bike. That perfect example. You think, okay, I'm going to ride a bike one day, and that day is going to come, and I'm going to be ready, and I'm going to do all these other things. I'm going to read about bikes. I'm going to hear podcasts about bikes. I'm going to listen to what other people say about bikes. And then when I know that I've gained enough information and enough trust, then I'm going to get up and I'm going to be perfectly riding a bike. And then you get on that bike and you fall and crack your head open. Because you thought that the information was going to outweigh the practical. You thought that hearing about a thing or being adjacent to the thing is going to make you ready for that thing. And the truth is that it's not. It's not possible. It does you no good to have all the knowledge in the world if you have not applied that knowledge to something effectively. It doesn't mean anything that if you know that you are wrong, if you know that you need healing, if you know that you need something fixed, it means nothing if you haven't actually applied what you know. So You cannot expect to ride the bike right away. It's going to take a process of you getting on the bike and learning things and learning how to pedal and how to balance yourself and how to move. And the beauty, again, that's a perfect analogy, because after you've learned and you've done it, it becomes so easy to continue. The reality for a lot of people, for a lot of us, is that we are stuck in a place because we are afraid to do a thing. And until you do the thing, it would never be better. It physically can't. It's one of those things that it's the Newton's law of motion, right? Third law of motion. That if an object in motion remains in motion, an object at rest remains at rest. You have to actually start the ball. You have to move it. And as you pick up momentum, you become better. But you will never be better by doing nothing. You will never succeed by actually stepping back and not being the full version of you. And I think so many of us get so caught up in that fear. Myself included, again, I use that analogy of the book. This thing, it's a good book. I feel like there's a lot of good takeaways. Choosing to do wrong feels good, shameless plug. But the things in there that I messed up on, I was beating myself up over. And I realize now that the truth is that there is something out there that most people could say they didn't do. Even if it's not perfect, even if it has its hiccups and it has its flaws, the next thing is going to be so much better because I know the basis of it. I know the blueprint. I know the steps. So whatever it is that you're struggling at, if you want to do the thing, do it. And this is a big one because this is something that I'm struggling with. Recently I had this thought of this discouragement, and discouragement a lot of other things, because life is life, and sometimes we let thoughts in and we let them run us. And discouragement is such a lie. Like I need to dispel that lie over your life, because too many people are living in discouragement because they think that they are not able. They think that they don't have this capacity to do the thing, and they have a dream and they have a hope and they have this goal they want to accomplish, but the moment that discouragement hits, it overflows in them, and it overindates them. It's what covers them completely. They look at discouragement and they believe that this thing is who they are, and that's not who you are. You're not your discouragement. And if you continue to give into it, of course, that's who you will be, because again, you've given authority to something that isn't true, that isn't about you, but it's easy to hear, because again, a lie is loud because the truth is simple, present, and calm. Lies have to be overbearing because they have to convince you that you are not that thing. So we give into discouragement. We let ourselves be discouraged, and we think that the thing that we want to do, the thing we want to accomplish, won't happen because we don't have finances, because we are in a bad place, because no one's listening to us, because you listen to all these lies that you become the lie. You need to let discouragement die. It needs to be a thing that comes into your mind and, okay, great. Yeah, that thing is there. It's true. It's hard. It's difficult, but you need to do it. You need to do it because it's not going to get done. You're either going to sit back and be complacent with the nothingness, or begin to fight against discouragement, begin to fight against these things. The reality is that nothing will ever get done. And I want to be clear here again. There is the reality of us not feeling that everything has to weigh on our shoulders and drag us down and kill us. But the truth is that there is an aspect of it that you have to be the one that does the work. And even in faith, that's a very true thing, right? God will bless the effort you give. It doesn't mean that you have to be perfect and do everything yourself, but he'll bless the effort that you actually give into that thing. So you need to be willing to do the work, be willing to do the extra stuff, be willing to wake up and go to sleep late and live for the dream that you want, because at some point things are going to happen, but you do not have to be perfect. You do not have to have it all figured out. You do not need to know the roadmap because you're still writing it out now, but you do need to know the steps that you want to take. I think the biggest takeaway from people, why they don't succeed, why they don't do anything, why we keep failing, why we keep going back to the thing that's horrible for us, is because we haven't laid out steps that we want to take, and we haven't been consistent with the steps we want to take. We look at these things and we say, okay, this is the lifestyle I want to live, but you don't do the things that require that lifestyle to breathe, to live. You don't take the steps accordingly. And until we step into that, until we actually say, okay, these are the things that are going to lead me to that point, we won't succeed. So you don't have to be perfect, but you do have to be willing. You don't have to sit here and have everything scratched out and figured out, but you have to start writing something out. You have to start creating a plan of the thing you want. It's good to want the life, but it's harder to actually do the steps to get there. At the end of the day, what it boils down to is just moving. You don't have to move fast. You don't have to move hard, but you have to move. And if you don't move, you'll just be exactly what you are and where you are, stuck. Because for a lot of us, we don't succeed because we stay stuck in the same place.